Okay, keeping with our tradition of showing you how things work on the web-based report builder side versus the thick client Excel interface for report building, we're going to show you Sparklines to visualize trends. Today we've got product categorization tier 3 from Remedy, although you could use category or subcategory in ServiceNow. You could use configuration item in ServiceNow. You could use service in Remedy, or you could do this with assigned groups or assigned to individuals in either as well. The metric we're focusing on is incidents breaching SLA. So we want to look at the trend of breaches, and we're looking at across a monthly time series. Okay, so pretty simple to create Sparklines. We're going to go with our server breaches here, and I highlight the row of data that I would like to create the Sparkline against, and I click the Insert tab here, choose line. You notice the Sparkline grouping here. Choose lines. Okay, now we're going to put the location where the Sparkline needs to be placed, which is H3. Click OK. And we have our Sparkline, pretty simple. Now I can apply that using the formula dragger and dropper here, as you're probably familiar with. And we have our basic Sparkline. Now a couple things I might want to do to make this a little bit more easy to visualize is I'd like to mark a high point and a low point. Now the high point in this case of breaches is bad. So what I want to do is mark that with a red. So we'll go into our marker color button here, choose high point, and make that red so it stands out. That's what we're trying to avoid. Okay, another thing I might want to do is give us a little bit more room. So in the top left-hand corner of the pivot chart, you can actually highlight all of the rows, if you would like, and columns, and it highlights the entire area. And we can drag and drop to, there we go, create a little bit more room for the Sparkline. So now we have our low point, or excuse me, our high point, which is really, in terms of this metric, a bad thing. Don't let the terminology confuse you. We have that indicated here, and we want to mark the low point with a green, indicating that that's something that we would like to replicate. And there you go. You've got the basics on how to create a Sparkline. There are a few other nuances that you might want to look out for. For example, your axis group over here. One thing you want to investigate is, do you want the vertical axis maximum value options to be the same for all Sparklines? That's something to look into. Chances are you might, because what will happen is if you have vastly different numbers in these breaches, you have one group that really stands out from another, it can skew the way that the Sparkline looks. So investigate that before you deploy your Sparklines. You might also want to consider using the columns here as another formatting option. They're very common. Most of our data won't have negative points, so that's something we probably don't need to consider. But the last thing you might want to highlight for others is the first and last point in the data. And when this is time-based, that's probably not as critical, but just something to consider. You want to look at the first point in the data, which would be the first month of the data, and the last point, which would be the latest in the data. And that's all we've got for you today for Sparklines. Pretty simple lesson. Let us know if you have any questions.